Rain Brown grew up far from city streets, surrounded by trees, rivers, and snow. Born in November 2002, she was the youngest of Billy and Amy Brown's 7 children. Her childhood wasn't filled with playgrounds or school bells. It was the sound of chainsaws cutting cabin beams, the sight of moss-covered logs, and the damp mist of Alaska's fjords. When she was just 11, Discovery Channel cameras arrived, planning to film a survival show. Instead, they found a complicated love story between a family and the wild land they called home. When Alaskan Bush People premiered in May 2014, Rain's big smile and gentle nature stood out. She chopped kindling that was half her size, spoke with a hint of dramatic flair, and slipped quiet prayers into conversations. She never cursed, even in freezing weather, and would sew doll dresses out of old flannel scraps, believing every leftover thread could have a second life. Viewers saw her as the heart of the series, the sibling who carried an air of innocence despite the challenges of bush life. But fame came with a price. Filming schedules began to replace the natural rhythm of the seasons, and privacy disappeared. While other teens went to dances and posted pictures with friends, Rain was hauling elk meat through snow and sleet. At first, she said she didn't mind, but in 2018 she hinted at feeling weighed down, writing on Instagram, "Some days the mud feels ankle-deep in my soul." She faced criticism from online trolls, small battles over wanting store-bought makeup, and whispers that she might leave for college. Her family faced struggles too. She saw her brothers Matt and Joshua deal with addiction and media attention, watched her sister Birdie face a medical decision that could affect her ability to have children, and lived through the pressure of producers pushing for more drama each season. Slowly, the difference between real life and reality TV blurred. In February 2021, tragedy struck when Billy died. Rain was 19, and the show's future became uncertain. Ratings fell, budgets were cut, and by 2022 the series ended quietly after its 14th season. Rain posted a photo of the snow-covered family cabin with the caption, "Goodbye forever." Many thought she was leaving for a city life, but instead she moved with her family to Washington's Okanagan Highlands to help rebuild their homestead North Star. But by 2024, Rain's life had shifted in a way no one expected. She had once shared joyful posts filled with Bible verses and pictures of her dogs. After the show's end, her social media turned cryptic. In February 2024 she posted, "When the sky breaks it breaks you first." Fans were concerned, but many thought it was simply grief talking. Then shocking news appeared. Rain was facing burglary charges. Investigators claimed she broke into a shuttered lakeside cabin near Tonasket, Washington, causing more than $25,000 in damage. Supporters argued the building was abandoned, and that she went there to retrieve paperwork she believed she was owed. Rumors swirled that the cabin belonged to her former manager, the same person she had once accused of stealing $43,000 from her. Her arrest shook the reputation her father had built over decades. Discovery released a short statement saying they were monitoring developments, while sponsors paused promotions. Tabloids declared it the end of the Browns' image of innocence. Rain and her partner Josiah spent time in county holding before being released without bail on April 14, but her public image had already taken a hit. Online, opinions split sharply. Some defended her, pointing to her faith and gentle nature. Others dug up old clips of her pushing back against her father's strict rules, claiming she had always been rebellious. A third group believed the truth was more complicated, that grief, fame, and financial stress could cloud anyone's judgment. Across social media, emotional fan-made videos of Rain singing by the campfire clashed with sarcastic memes showing a cartoon bear behind bars. A petition demanding Discovery help fund her defense gained 10,000 signatures in a day, but just as many people unsubscribed from her accounts, saying the Browns had been in the spotlight long enough. Rain Brown's story began in the untouched wilderness, but now it had collided with the harsh reality of courtrooms and headlines. For her supporters, it was a painful chapter in the life of someone they'd watched grow up on screen. For her critics, it was proof that the innocence they once believed in was gone. Either way, the calm days of her past seemed far away, and whatever came next, it was certain that life for Rain would never be the same. After the end of Alaskan Bush People, life at North Star Ranch wasn't as easy as it once seemed. Living off-grid was expensive, and when a fire damaged parts of the property, the insurance payout barely covered the burnt wood. The rerun royalties slowed down, and the contracts that used to bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode disappeared overnight. By late 2023, Rain Brown was looking for extra income. She took a job waitressing at a rustic diner near Chelan, Washington, where she met the head chef, Josiah Lorton. Josiah was 23, with tattoos, a sharp sense of humor, and a habit of quietly blessing every plate before it left the kitchen. Rain and Josiah connected instantly over their shared love of hymns and hearty meals. Within months, they were inseparable, carving their initials into ponderosa bark and promising each other they would never trade a simple life for a cynical one. After her shifts, Rain often swapped her apron for hiking boots, finding Josiah waiting outside with a thermos of berry tea. They'd drive down dusty back roads until there was no cell signal, park, and sit on a truck tailgate trading childhood stories. His from Kentucky coal country, hers from Alaskan winters with sled dogs howling under the northern lights. For someone whose life had been filmed for TV, the quiet felt like freedom. Josiah was already burned out from the long hours of restaurant work, while Rain admired his patience with tourists making tricky requests like gluten-free elk chili. By Christmas 2023, they made their relationship public. Rain's Instagram caption overflowed with pet names. "My angel, my healer, my home, my forever." Fans reacted with a mix of excitement and skepticism, but Rain's heart had waited long enough for the kind of gentleness Josiah offered. The engagement happened on a foggy pier over Lake Chelan. Josiah had carved a wooden ring box from fallen pine and inlaid it with an opal he had mined on a trip to Utah. Rain said yes before he even finished the question. They didn't record it or post videos, but when the ring appeared in a January selfie, fans figured it out. That same night, Rain replied, "Goodbye forever," to a troll online, a phrase most people didn't realize meant she was leaving behind an old identity for a new chapter. 3 weeks later, they were married in a small log chapel near Wenatchee. Amy read from Corinthians, Noah played guitar, and a local pastor spoke softly about forgiveness. There were no TV crews, no corporate sponsors, just family and close friends. But when a guest leaked a few blurry photos, #RainBrownWedding trended online. Offers for paid interviews poured in, but Rain declined them all, saying, "Love doesn't need a sponsor." Still, she knew love needed money, and North Star Ranch was still losing it fast. Snowbird's vet bills for rescued animals were high, court fees from Matt's rehab added pressure, and overdue property taxes loomed. Rain and Josiah came up with a plan: to lease an unused lakeside cabin and turn it into a faith-based retreat, with a kitchen where Josiah could teach bush cuisine and Rain could sell handmade soaps. But negotiations dragged on, and important paperwork seemed to vanish. In private, Rain wrote in a leather journal, always weighing her choices against her father's motto, "Live free or die," and her own fear of letting fans down. On April 10th, she wrote, "If this cabin falls through, we'll plant vegetables in buckets. We'll cook over alderwood. We'll sing louder. Just keep believing." Those words would later appear in court documents. The next day, April 11th, Rain and Josiah drove to the cabin carrying measuring tapes and cleaning supplies. By sunset, they were under arrest. Deputy Carlos Herrera's body camera footage from 7:42 p.m. showed broken glass across the hardwood floor. The front window had been smashed inward, shards mixed with spruce needles and a tipped-over rain barrel. Rain stood near the fireplace with her hands raised, palms shaking. Josiah was kneeling by an antique buffet, photographing broken porcelain knobs. A neighbor's 911 call had brought the deputies there. That night would mark the moment their quiet love story collided head-on with legal reality. When the neighbor called 911, they reported hearing loud banging and voices arguing about money inside the cabin. Deputy Carlos Herrera arrived and told Rain, "Ma'am, step outside." She obeyed, glancing toward a framed landscape painting with a jagged hole through the glass. Outside, the evening light was fading, and the flashing red and blue lights from the patrol cars painted the pine trees in harsh colors. Rain tried to explain that she and Josiah had permission to check the property, but that her former manager had stopped replying to her emails. Herrera began reading her Miranda rights while another deputy, Singh, inspected the doorframe and noted pry marks. In the back of the patrol car, Rain whispered scripture, "The Lord is my refuge," while Josiah sat in silence, jaw tight. At the Okanagan County Jail, the booking process was fast. Digital fingerprints, mugshots, and the confiscation of a multi-tool and a small bottle of anointing oil. The charges were serious. First-degree burglary, first-degree malicious mischief, and for Rain alone, second-degree trespass. Bail wasn't required. The judge trusted they would stay local, but the cell doors still closed behind them for 68 tense hours. The media found out almost instantly. A dispatcher's cousin texted a blogger, and by 6 a.m., TMZ had published their mugshots with a mocking caption, "Alaskan Bush People meet County Bush League." Later, security footage showed Rain pacing her cell barefoot, quietly reciting worship lyrics through tears. Detectives photographed the cabin's damage. Civil War-era tintypes, Depression-era mason jars, and a single cuckoo clock that Rain swore had been crooked before she entered. The damage total was estimated at $27,480. The alleged owner, her former manager Ellis McGowan, claimed there were also priceless sentimental losses. He accused Rain of trying to destroy contract evidence and forwarded an email chain discussing unpaid royalties and final verdict negotiations from 2024. Insurance investigators began circling. On April 14 at 2:03 p.m., Rain's cell door opened. She put on her worn denim jacket, stepped into the cool spring sunlight, and was met by a wall of reporters. "Rain, did you do it?" one shouted. She paused, looked into a camera lens and simply said, "Judge not lest you be judged." Then she got into Josiah's pickup, the door closing with a hollow thud that some described as sounding like the beginning of a long and uncertain trial. While in holding, Rain had shared a cell with a schoolteacher arrested over unpaid parking tickets. That cellmate later told reporters that Rain spent 2 nights sketching mountain scenes on napkins, promising to mail them once she was free. At her video arraignment, Amy watched from North Star Ranch, resting her hand on a photo of Billy and mouthing the words, "Stay strong." The judge set the next hearing for late June and warned that any violation of her release conditions would put her back in jail. Online, the story exploded. The internet thrives on drama, and Rain's arrest poured fuel on an already heated fan debate. Within days, the hashtag final verdict Rain was trending alongside show clips edited to make her look guilty. TikTok lawyers speculated she could face a life sentence, despite not knowing the full context. On April 19, Rain logged onto Instagram and found her comment section split in two, some calling her a modern Jezebel, others sending love and prayers. She posted a plain white square with the quote, "Judge not lest ye be judged," from Matthew 7, adding, "It hurts my heart that my rainbows believe lies from someone who stole $43,000 from me." This someone was Ellis McGowan, the man once praised for securing big brand deals for the Brown family. Rain accused him of forging her signature on contracts and siphoning off money meant for ranch repairs. She claimed she confronted him, and he retaliated with lies and ultimately the 911 call. McGowan's lawyers responded by portraying Rain as angry over financial audits. They even leaked an email from her that read, "Return what you stole or the mountain will speak." Cable news anchors made jokes about the wording, but detectives began tracing the money. Soon, Us Weekly obtained bank documents showing $42,937 had been transferred from Rain Brown LLC to McGowan's consultancy in 2024. It was no longer just a personal dispute. It had become a tangled mix of romance, money, betrayal, and a trial that was only just beginning. Rumors began to spread when people noticed a note in the financial records mentioning ad spending, but no one could confirm if that money had actually been spent. Then Rain's brother, Bam Bam, hinted during a live stream that there might be deeper corruption involved. He suggested that certain people wanted the Browns off their land so that developers could buy it at a low price. This only fueled conspiracy theories. Some fans began wondering if the cabin incident was a setup to damage Rain's reputation before a possible property battle. While speculation grew online, Rain withdrew to North Star Ranch and stopped talking to the media. Josiah installed motion sensors, Birdie prayed on the porch, and Gabe played slow, sad music that drifted across the hills. From a distance, the family looked united, but insiders said there were tensions. Some siblings worried that more bad publicity could ruin their chances for future documentary projects. Netflix had reportedly shown interest in a revival of their show, but now the company had gone silent. Civil attorneys advised Rain to settle the matter quietly, pay restitution, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and move on. But her pride wouldn't allow it. Instead, she filed a counterclaim against Ellis McGowan, accusing him of defamation and emotional distress, and demanded a public apology. Talks fell apart quickly, and by May 1st, the court docket officially listed Rain Brown versus Ellis McGowan, a civil case running alongside the criminal one. Her supporters didn't back down. They organized prayer circles, sold Rain Innocent hoodies, and raised $5,000 for her legal costs. But no matter what they did, the headlines still used the same phrase. Not good. The pressure on prosecutors to deliver a strong verdict grew heavier each day, threatening to crush whatever hope Rain had left. When she appeared at her preliminary hearing, Rain wore a navy blazer borrowed from Amy. Josiah stood beside her in a thrifted suit, a small wooden cross hidden behind his lapel. The courtroom was packed with reporters and curious locals hoping for drama. Judge Marisol Keating, calm but sharp, called the hearing to order. Prosecutor Dane Mullins laid out the state's case. Forced entry with a pry bar, destruction of antiques, and a motive tied to missing financial documents, plus the added seriousness of a nighttime break-in. He offered Rain a plea deal. Plead guilty to second-degree burglary, serve 24 months, and pay restitution. Defense attorney Liana Ruiz countered that this wasn't burglary. It was a contract dispute. She argued that Rain never intended to steal but was trying to retrieve property and evidence related to money she was owed. Ruiz handed the judge a thick binder labeled McGowan fraud evidence, full of spreadsheets showing missing royalty payments and unsigned contracts. Judge Keating reviewed the binder but reminded them that civil disputes didn't excuse trespassing. Still, she agreed to hold evidentiary hearings, meaning Rain could present her claims about McGowan's fraud as part of her defense. A summer trial was set, jury selection from July 21st to 25th, opening statements on July 28th. Rain's face tightened as the dates were read aloud, and Josiah gave her elbow a reassuring squeeze. Outside, Ruiz told reporters, "We will prove our client acted to protect her livelihood, not to commit a crime." Legal commentators flooded podcasts with opinions. Some thought a jury might sympathize with a reality TV star fighting corporate betrayal. Others pointed out that Washington's burglary law doesn't require theft, just intent to commit any crime inside, including vandalism, which meant the law allowed for a possible life sentence, even if a first-time offender like Rain would likely get less than 5 years. Still, the headlines screamed life in prison, feeding online panic. Meanwhile, storms rolled across North Star Ranch, flooding paths and slowing preparations for trial. The family debated selling another piece of land to pay for legal costs. Birdie suggested crowdfunding, but Bear worried it would invite more public judgment. Amy called a family meeting, opening Billy's old journal and reading aloud, "The truth will walk out of the woods." The room went quiet, but the tension stayed. One late night, Ruiz sent Rain a spreadsheet showing possible outcomes, from a full acquittal to probation to prison time lasting until 2030. In the margin, Ruiz had written, "Worst case, 5 to 7 years. Not good, but survivable with good behavior." Rain stared at those 2 words, "not good," and felt like they were carved in stone. She closed her laptop and prayed for morning, her Bible open beside her like a lifeline. Outside the courthouse during recess, supporters held cardboard signs reading, "Free the Bush Baby." Drone footage of the small rally spread on Twitter in minutes, sparking more furious debates about fame, justice, and whether Rain was guilty. Each post, each click, felt like another stone added to the mountain she would have to climb. The Browns had survived harsh winters, wild animal attacks, and even the cancellation of their TV show, but nothing had shaken them like Rain's upcoming trial. One moonless night, Amy gathered her children around the ranch's fire pit, the same place where Billy had once preached about resilience. As sparks rose into the dark sky, each sibling spoke, their voices breaking under the weight of what lay ahead. Gabe admitted that he had taken out a mortgage on his truck to help pay for legal fees. Bear revealed that he had sold the rights to his wildlife photographs in exchange for quick cash. Birdie struggled with insomnia, worried that photographers might capture images of her surgical scars. Noah, always the inventor, built basic phone signal blockers to keep drones from flying overhead. Bam Bam stopped using his camera, instead recording events only in his memory, unsure if he would ever release them or keep them private forever. Even Matt, who had been estranged but was now sober, called from California. "Little sis, if the judges can't see your heart, then the world's broken," he told her. His voice was scratchy over the phone but sincere. He promised to testify on her behalf if needed. That simple gesture melted years of distance between them. Rain wiped her tears with a shaky hand. Josiah pulled her close, and Amy ended the moment with a prayer. For a short while, unity outweighed fear. The outside world, however, saw only a story to exploit. Tabloids ran ridiculous articles, even creating fake sketches of Billy's face appearing in the clouds over a courthouse. A popular podcast accused the Browns of staging the break-in just for publicity. The Discovery Channel denied being involved, but the rumors stuck. Companies that once worked with the Browns now ignored them.